Putin's secret war in UK waters.
It's not what the Russians are doing now, it's what they may have done in past years.
Does the Navy have the kind of resources it needs right now to protect us?
That Putin basically is preparing for conflict.
Russian sensors.
What the Russians are doing.
War.
Welcome to Tactical Truths, the go-to series for military news, tactical analysis, and frontline stories that matter. Before we get started, I need your help. 73% of you who watch regularly haven't subscribed yet. If you like what we do, hit that subscribe button, it's free, and helps us make this show better for you every single week. I'm Phil Campion, former UK SAS, and this is Tactical Truths. Royal Navy divers just found Russian spy devices planted near our nuclear submarines. Yeah, you heard that right. Putin's GRU have been playing hide and seek on the seabed, tracking our Trident patrols. Like it was the 80s again. If they know where our nukes are, they can neutralise them. And that blows our entire defence strategy wide open. It's time to talk about what's really going on beneath the surface. So let's check out what the press are saying, shall we? Before we get into this, we'd be really stupid if we weren't to be thinking along the lines that this was going on around the clock. All right? Okay? It shouldn't be left to having to find devices. We should be actively searching for them the whole time. Because that's, in times of peace, prepare for war. Surely, yeah? So this is what they call it. It's the grey area. It's like the Cold War. It's war but not war. It's preparing. It's looking at. It's weighing up. It's putting stuff in place. Should this happen? Should that happen? What can we do?
I think the real problem is that it's not what the Russians are doing now, it's what they may have done in past years.
Exactly, and that's why you need to keep your finger on the pulse.
And what may be lurking undetected on the seabed at great depths. It's quite easy to surveil the continental shelf around Britain, where it's only a couple of 100 metres deep. Once you go thousands of metres deep in the Atlantic, which is where a lot of the, as you mentioned, the data cables that go to America, who knows what's lurking down there, what the Russians may have planted.
Exactly. So it makes sense if you looked for it all the time, wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean? I'd be amazed if they weren't.
Putin's secret war in UK waters. This is a very, very worrying
Putin's secret war, which is being blown wide open on the MSN.
development, and the former MI6 boss says Britain needs to get ready for war as Putin is threatening Europe. Also, Russian censors are suspected of attempting to spy on the UK.
Look, things are changing across the continent, across the world. It would be very foolish not to be thinking along these lines, all right? This isn't scaremongering.
Nuclear submarines, they've been found hidden in the seas around Britain. The devices are believed to have been planted by Moscow to try to gather intelligence on Britain's 4 Vanguard submarines, the submarines that carry nuclear missiles. Well, let's talk to two of our best commentators of foreign affairs and defence issues, Colonel Simon Diggins, and Mary Dejevsky. Simon is obviously a former senior military officer. He's also an analyst of defence matters.
He's not that senior, is he, Colonel? Come on.
And Mary is a columnist and former correspondent in Moscow. Good
Oh, well, she'll know loads then.
morning to you both. Simon, maybe I could start with you. How big do you think the threat actually is?
It's very serious, Peter. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
We know that the Russians, since even the end of the Cold War, never quite gave up on their reconnaissance and intelligence gathering activities around that. But as
Of course they never. And as you could almost guarantee, neither did we. Or we shouldn't have done.
head of MI6 has said, and we've had these warnings now repeatedly over nearly 2 years, the war in Ukraine has focused Russian attention and increased the threat to ourselves. And so what we've been seeing is this increasing activity, underwater surveillance, planting of sensors so they can record the movement of our submarines, including also potentially placing sort of standoff mines or mines very close to some of the key cables that underpin our infrastructure, not just our gas infrastructure, bringing gas in from Norway, but also, importantly, our data infrastructure that comes around. So the sense we've got is that Putin basically is preparing for conflict, or what he's doing at the moment, which is continual kind of grey zone.
Posturing in the grey zone. That's reality of what is actually going on at the moment. He's posturing. But you can rightly assume that provision has been made for him to step in full if he needs to. And so, this is how important it is that we are ready, and if not ahead of that, if we haven't preempted that.
Hybrid operations, which is kind of a military term for this, where he puts under threat, there's pressure, there's a response, and he just keeps the whole thing unstable. So, yeah, this is really serious and very important that the Navy are responding.
I think that we've known since the beginning of our nuclear submarine program that Russians are interested in tracking our nuclear submarines. And the lead on this story is the fascinating nugget that we found one of the sensors that the Russians have been dotting around our shores to try and catch the noise that these submarines make as they enter and leave the ports. Now, I'm not that surprised by that because...
I'm not surprised at all. Not that surprised. I'm not surprised at all.
We do exactly the same to the Russians. We're
exactly. See, tit for tat, isn't it?
interested in their nuclear submarines.
So you got to sort of like say a little bit of this is the MSN not fully understanding or plagiarising stuff to get themselves a massive, massive headline.
Where they're going and what they're doing. But I think that the report outlines the breadth of the threat on other aspects very well, and that is the threat to our cables and the pipelines that go on the seabed.
Yeah, so that would be, sensors one thing. But actually, if they are laying mines and stuff that could potentially disrupt stuff that's going to impact on our infrastructure, then that is proper, innit? Do you know what I mean? And there's no reason for me even to think that they wouldn't have done that. None at all. Do you know what I mean? In fact, there would be reason for me to think they'd be very stupid if they hadn't. But then, put the boot on the other foot again, as he alluded to with the sensor stuff. Of course, we've probably done stuff the other way as well. Of course we have, haven't we? Would that be fair one?
And here we have some interesting new details, including that they've discovered one of these sort of underwater robots back in 2020, which was positioned on the seabed, presumably waiting to attack some infrastructure. And this confirms something we've been very worried about, that Russia is preparing over a long period of time sabotage operations that could be activated in the event of a crisis. So
we wouldn't have done nothing like that, would we? No, not at all.
Might be in a standoff with Russia in Ukraine or Estonia or wherever, and suddenly dozens, scores, even more of our crucial data pipelines, electricity interconnectors, gas pipelines, whatever, could all be cut by these robots that have been put there in advance. And that is very worrying.
Right then, let's unpick that lot, shall we? This one's straight out of the Cold War playbook, except it's not history. It's happening right now, off of our own fucking coastline. Royal Navy divers have discovered Russian spy devices planted in the seabed. Fact. Near the routes our Vanguard-class nuclear submarines use. All right? Let me say that again. Putin's been poking around the Royal Navy's most sensitive underwater patrol paths, laying down sensors designed to track, monitor, and maybe even sabotage our nuclear deterrent. You don't do that unless you're preparing for the unthinkable. These aren't cheap bits of junk either. These are deep sea intelligence tools, built to survive the pressure, to stay hidden, and to whisper every movement of our subs straight back to Moscow. It's classic GRU style operations, silent, methodical, and dangerous as fuck. The government's answer, a hush-hush operation called Project Cabot. It's ramping up defences below the waves, sonar nets, unmanned drones, private sector tech partnerships, the works, the whole thing. They're waking up to the fact the new front line is 500 feet under. Not some desert battlefield or cyber war conference. Now, let's talk tactics. If Russia knows when and where our nuclear subs are moving, then mutually assured destruction and our whole nuclear deterrence model is shot to pieces. Vanguard-class submarines are meant to be invisible, undetectable, and always lurking. That's what makes them a deterrent. If Russia has figured out how to track them in real time, hey, guess what? We've just lost our poker face and they know our complete hand. This isn't a one-off either. This is part of a wider Russian hybrid warfare strategy, undersea sabotage, cyber disruption and fake news. Good old-fashioned espionage, in other words. They're testing every seam in our national defence. And the undersea realm, well, that's one thing they need to look at as well. Because for years, we've been focused on boots on the ground, not fins in the water. Make no mistake, this is a hostile act. Planting devices in another nation's waters, close to their nuclear command routes, is not surveillance. It's a probe. A probe to see how far they can go before somebody pushes back. And here's the brutal truth. We weren't watching closely enough. If we've only just now spotted these things, how long have they been there? What else could be lurking beneath? It's time to take the gloves off. Project Cabot better be more than just a PR line. We need real deterrence, real surveillance, and real consequences. Because if Russia's laying the groundwork for underwater sabotage, the next time we miss something, it might not be a sensor. It might be a mine. Now, as not to come across as completely scaremongering and think that we're completely under the cosh here, if they're doing it, then we must be doing it. Because in times of peace, guess what? You need to prepare for war. This is Phil Campion. And that was the tactical truth. We're not here to soothe you. We're here to wake you the hell up. Remember to support our channel by subscribing right now. Until next time, I'll see you later.